Qatargate. Former Netanyahu campaigner asked spokesperson to look after Qatari friends.
Upon receiving a document which echoed pro-Qatar and anti-Egypt sentiments from Netanyahu ex-spokesperson Eli Feldstein, Einhorn responded, "Strong stuff." Later in his interrogation, Einhorn said Feldstein screwed his life, by Gidi Weitz and Bar Peleg. December 24, 2025. A former campaign advisor for Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's Likud party Srulik Einhorn and Eli Feldstein, a former spokesperson in Netanyahu's office, referred to Qatar as friends when discussing a classified military document. Haaretz reveals in new information obtained from Einhorn's investigations. The two figures are embroiled in the Bibileaks affair, in which figures within the Prime Minister's office leaked classified documents to foreign media, and Qatargate, in which figures close to the Prime Minister received payment from Qatar before and during Israel's war in Gaza. We need to brief on how to trust the friends. Srulik Einhorn, a former campaign advisor for Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's Likud party, wrote to Eli Feldstein after receiving a classified military document from him. The friends in question were the Qataris, who paid both men, close associates of the Prime Minister, for public relations on behalf of the country that funded Hamas. The document's contents, intended to embarrass Egypt, dovetailed neatly with the campaign built by Einhorn and Jay Futlik, the American lobbyist working for Qatar. How you can trust our friends is a generic message, Einhorn explained during his interrogation. That's his job, Feldstein's, to keep pushing that message to the media all the time. The classified military document was an independent study conducted by 6 military intelligence reservists, who claimed there had been foreign involvement in Hamas's October 7th attack. The authors sought to pass the document on to the Prime Minister, even though their superiors determined it was not sufficiently validated. The document was found in Feldstein's kitchen. He had received it from IDF reservist Ari Rosenfeld and was supposed to deliver it to Netanyahu. According to the indictment against Feldstein in the Bibileaks affair, he also passed the document on to Srulik Einhorn. During his interrogation in July, which was carried out by Israeli representatives in the presence of Serbian law enforcement, Einhorn told Shlomo Momi Meshulam, a representative from Israel's Major Crimes Unit, that the document was bizarre, like a child made it on a computer or something. However, in his encrypted Signal app correspondence with Feldstein, Einhorn sang a different tune. "King, you're a champ," he wrote to the Prime Minister's spokesperson after seeing the document. When Feldstein asked, "How's the content?" Einhorn replied, "Strong stuff." In his interrogation, Einhorn explained that his compliments were devoid of meaning. "I need him to be pleased. You're a king, you're a champ, you're a giant. I was always telling him that. It means nothing. The fact that proves it. I didn't use it, the document." According to the indictment in the Bibileaks affair, Einhorn acted as an intermediary between Feldstein and the German newspaper Bild. Einhorn was questioned on suspicion of passing on classified information with the intent to harm state security. Israel's state prosecution is expected to soon file charges against him. Einhorn is also suspected, alongside Feldstein, of receiving funds from Qatar. The affair involving the Egyptian document, intended to embarrass Egypt, appears to be the link between the two cases. Between Eli Feldstein and Srulik Einhorn, who in the past ran election campaigns for Likud, there were both professional and friendly relations. In addition to their collaboration in servicing Qatar, Einhorn recruited Feldstein for an election campaign in Georgia. In his interrogations last July, Einhorn distanced himself from his partner and friend. "The biggest liar in the world, the biggest manipulator in the world, a provocateur, an engineer, a servant of 1,000 masters," he said of Feldstein. "I'm deeply angry at Feldstein, who I was very, very close to. He screwed my life, excuse my language. He endangered my children, my wife," Einhorn said. Israel police investigators had to fly to Serbia, where Einhorn has been living in recent years, because he was unwilling to come to Israel. "I was afraid," he explained. "They'll take my passport, put me in detention. What would happen to my children? Describing the affair's impact on his life, he broke down in tears. My life was perfect. I had the best life. I travel, make a lot of money. Feldstein ruined my life. Einhorn rejected the suspicions against him. It's crazy to say I would endanger state security, he said. I would endanger my children? To support his claim, he shared with his investigators several cases in which he used his extensive connections in the Balkans for Israel's benefit. In one case, he mediated a conference call between Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and a foreign leader on a sensitive issue related to the war in Gaza. I want to talk about this from my experience, Einhorn said in his interrogation about his role in the Bibileaks affair. At that time, I was running about 5 or 6 election campaigns around the world simultaneously, plus other projects. FootLeaks project? Crazy, 500 WhatsApp messages a day. Eli Feldstein called me, whom I know, and said, I need you for the PM. I say, what? He says, I need to publish something abroad. I say, okay, what is it? He says, I'm sending. He sent me a WhatsApp message in Arabic. I don't read Arabic. I said, before I send this to Bild, I want to know what's in it. I did Google Translate, I see, Hamas negotiating strategy on a ceasefire and hostages. The document, presented as if it were written by then Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar, purported to describe how Hamas exploits protests calling for the hostages released to pressure Israel, despite having no genuine interest in a deal. A few days earlier, 6 hostages had been murdered in a tunnel in Rafah, and the material was meant to help Netanyahu fend off criticism directed at him. I skimmed it, Einhorn said. I sent it to Paul Ronsheimer, the deputy editor of Bild, who is a very close friend of mine. He called me after a while and said, What the fuck, what are you sending me? I told him, listen, this is coming from Netanyahu's office. It's the real deal. There's nothing more authoritative than that. He says, you want me to publish this? Bild is the most widely read newspaper in Western Europe. It's a monster. I told him, wait a second. I added Feldstein to a conference call with him, Ronsheimer. I say, explain. Feldstein said, I'm bringing in Danny from security, and brought someone else into the call. Later, I found out from the media that it was the non-commissioned officer Rosenfeld Ari. I put myself on mute for the entire call. They talked amongst themselves. They, Feldstein and Rosenfeld, confirmed the document's authenticity to him. The sensational story was indeed published and prominently featured in Bild, and of course, cited in Israeli media as well. Feldstein celebrated it in the Israeli media, Einhorn said. After that, things started to unravel. Yedioth Aharonoth and New York Times journalist Ronen Bergman revealed that the document's content was distorted and that it was not Sinwar who had authored it. Einhorn recounted that, after the publication by Ronen Bergman and others, Ronsheimer says, Tell me, what did you do to me? Did you screw me? Are you damaging my credibility? He's the deputy editor of Bild, also considered one of the most important war correspondents in the world. I told him, what do you think? I mean, this is my credibility. This is my whole life. Why would I pass him a fabricated document? The questions surrounding the document put Einhorn under great pressure, according to his testimony. I asked Feldstein to bring the real thing, to resolve the crisis with Bild, he said. Feldstein provided Einhorn with the raw intelligence report that was the basis for the publication, and Einhorn sent it to the newspaper. In his interrogations, Einhorn tried to downplay his role in the affair. What is this if not a conduit? It's a sprinkler, he said, regarding his mediation between Feldstein as a spokesperson and the Bild newspaper. What I did was 100,000,000% permitted and authorized. I did a favor for the Prime Minister's office. Israel's chief censor is tasked with preventing publication of information that may close to certainly cause substantial harm to national security. When Einhorn was asked why he published a document he knew the military censorship had rejected, from which he was asked to cut out Hebrew text that could reveal its source, he replied, The Prime Minister's office requested it. That's already above the censor. This practice of publishing news abroad and then spinning it back to Israel, that happens all the time. Ronen Bergman and Barak Ravid built their careers on it. Einhorn said that Feldstein told him, "I need you for the Prime Minister, not for the Lighthouse Project, the Lighthouse campaign to improve Qatar's image, exposed by Haaretz, and not for Footlick's project." Einhorn explained that the document's content contradicts the interests of the Footlick project. So why did Feldstein ask me for it? Only for the Prime Minister. The document's interest also matches the interest of Netanyahu's office, that the protests against the government are tearing the nation apart. In this context, Einhorn presented his investigators with a question that troubled him. I want to ask a deeper question. Why did Feldstein even come to me with these things? After all, Rosenfeld said he gave the document because it was hidden from Netanyahu. Netanyahu didn't receive it, and that was his motivation. So why did he bring it to me? Feldstein can see Netanyahu pretty much any time he wants. Einhorn once again pointed a finger at Feldstein, the spokesperson, who played me as an Avishai Raviv, and I'm not Yigal Amir, referring to an undercover agent who was blamed and later acquitted for inciting the assassin of murdered Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin. The investigators accused Einhorn of feigning innocence, saying he was not just a conduit, but that he asked questions about the document and was familiar with its content. He admitted that he did delve into the details, but explained that he did so because he was exposed to Feldstein's manipulative nature. His relationships with Nir Davory or Suleiman Maswadeh, Israeli journalists from Channel 12 News and Khan Public Broadcaster News, respectively, I'm not there, I'm not in the conversation, I don't know them, I've never spoken to them, it's not my business. But the moment they ask me for my connection to Bild, which, most importantly, is a very pro-Israel newspaper, I have to be precise. You can't mess around with Ronsheimer. He's one of the most important journalists in the world. He has the most popular podcast in Germany. There's no room for mistakes or for Feldstein's spins. I knew he was spinning near Davory. I just wanted to make sure he wouldn't spin Bild like he does Davory. Correspondence between Feldstein and Einhorn, first revealed by Avishai Grinzeig on I-24 News, shed light on Feldstein's relationships as a spokesperson with journalists who unhesitatingly echoed pro-Qatari messages dictated to them. Einhorn refused to allow investigators to review his correspondence with Yonatan Urish, a confidant of the Prime Minister who is also a suspect in the Qatargate affair, upon their request. "Unfortunately, it's impossible," he explained. "The default on my WhatsApp, it's deleted. That's how all my conversations are, except with my mother or my wife. All my projects are confidential. I talk to ministers, to prime ministers. It's sensitive." Feldstein still denies working for Qatar, claiming all his actions were on behalf of his superiors in the Prime Minister's office. According to him, passing on the document regarding Egypt was meant to reinforce Netanyahu's messaging about the importance of controlling the Philadelphia route along the Gaza-Sinai border, which was seized by the IDF in May 2024 as part of the Israeli army's controversial move into the Rafah region aimed at preventing Hamas's ability to rearm and resupply. Attorneys Oded Sabarai and Sivan Hausman, who represent Feldstein, said in response, "Without addressing the content of any specific document, all documents Feldstein passed to Einhorn were given to him on Urich's instructions. To Feldstein's understanding at the time, the documents served the Prime Minister's position and his media directive." In the internal discourse among the communications staff in the office, the term friends referred to anyone involved in advancing issues important to the Prime Minister, depending on the context. Senior official allegedly told ex-Netanyahu aide he could silence. IDF leak investigation. The ex-Netanyahu spokesman told Shin Bet investigators he feared revealing the official's identity would open a crazy Pandora's box and put him at risk. A memorandum noted, "We will get to the whole truth with or without him." More than a year before police acted on the claim. By Bar Peleg, December 27, 2025. Eli Feldstein, the former spokesman for Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, told Shin Bet Security Service investigators last year that a senior official in the Prime Minister's office had told him he could silence an Israel Defense Forces investigation into the leak of highly classified documents to the German newspaper Bild. A Shin Bet investigator wrote on an official memorandum form after questioning Feldstein that he would check Feldstein's version from every possible angle. Haaretz has learned. Feldstein has never been questioned about the matter again, neither during his interrogation by the Shin Bet nor during subsequent police questioning. Feldstein revealed in an interview broadcast this week that the senior official allegedly involved in obstructing the investigation was Netanyahu's chief of staff, Zaki Braverman, who has denied the accusations. More than a year after Feldstein first raised the allegation with Shin Bet, police have only now moved to investigate and are currently awaiting authorization from the state prosecutor's office. Braverman is set to assume his post of Israel's ambassador to the United Kingdom in the coming months. The Office of Attorney General Gali Baharav Miara declined to comment on a question from Haaretz regarding the status of the law enforcement investigation and what the Shin Bet investigator recorded in the memorandum about examining the allegations. Feldstein's version of events raises problems, a source in the legal system told Haaretz. His claims have still not been examined, partly because he never explicitly mentioned Braverman's name until his interview with Israel's public broadcaster Khan on Monday. Feldstein also did not provide any evidence to support his claims. This was Feldstein's first public interview since accusations against him were made. In addition, the existence of the internal investigation within the military was publicly reported by Yedioth Ahronoth newspaper just 2 days after the leaked documents were made public, calling into question why Braverman would have needed to warn Feldstein about the investigation. If the police receive permission from the state prosecutor's office to investigate the matter, they are expected to begin by collecting corroborating evidence, such as cell phone location data and security camera footage, to confirm or refute Feldstein's account, and only afterward question the suspects. In an interview broadcast this week, Feldstein said that Braverman told him that he could shut down the leak investigation, and warned him that the investigation was opened in the IDF's Information Security Department and reaches all the way to the Prime Minister's office. According to Feldstein, Braverman presented him with the names of individuals who were later revealed to be suspects in the affair. Feldstein said he shared this account during his interrogations, yet Braverman was never summoned to testify. Feldstein provided this version during his interrogation by the Shin Bet, but without naming Braverman as the senior official involved. On November 5, 2024, Feldstein initially said the senior official had heard something about an inquiry inside the IDF regarding information leaked to the press. 2 days later, during further questioning, Shin Bet investigators tried to determine who the senior official was. Feldstein said the official had called him repeatedly and asked him to come to the IDF headquarters at the Kiryat base in Tel Aviv. There, the official told him he would silence the story, Feldstein said. At the same time, Feldstein told investigators he refused to reveal the official's name because doing so would open a crazy Pandora's box, warning that exposing the name would create a mess. Feldstein also said he feared physical harm if the official's identity were revealed. According to the Shin Bet memorandum, investigators asked whether Feldstein had deleted his correspondence with the official. Feldstein refused to answer and smiled. At the time, his phone was in the hands of the police and the Shin Bet, and its contents were being examined. The memorandum written by the Shin Bet investigator states that Feldstein viewed providing the name as crossing the lines against the most powerful people in Israel. At the end of that round of questioning, the investigator wrote that Feldstein had asked him not to put him at risk and not to try to identify the individual involved. The investigator noted that he said he did not intend to sweep the matter under the rug or cover it up. "We will get to the whole truth with or without him," the investigator wrote. Braverman denied the claims following the interview. A statement issued this week on his behalf said Braverman was only made aware of the existence of the investigation once it was reported in the media, and it was then that he learned for the first time of Feldstein's connection to Rosenfeld, referring to IDF reservist Ari Rosenfeld, one of the central suspects in the Bibileaks affair. Braverman said he did not know Rosenfeld and that there had never been any contact between them. Feldstein's claim about a proposal from the Chief of Staff, Braverman, to intervene or influence the investigation is just another of Feldstein's inventions, Braverman said. On Wednesday, Yuri Korb, the lawyer representing Rosenfeld, submitted a request to receive additional materials from the investigation into the affair, including materials concerning Feldstein's accusations of alleged obstruction of justice by Braverman. Apart from Feldstein's initial questioning by the Shin Bet, in which he first raised the existence of the conversation with the senior official, Korb said he found no indication in the investigative materials provided to him that Feldstein's claims had been examined. Korb also requested materials from the investigation concerning the involvement of Con 11 journalist Omri Assenheim, who interviewed with Feldstein this week, in an alleged attempt to leak the Bild documents to the Ynet News, which he said could also affect Rosenfeld's case. The Shin Bet said in response that the investigation of Eli Feldstein was conducted by the Shin Bet and police, and in the end, an indictment was filed against him. Naturally, we cannot comment on investigative processes in a security case whose legal proceedings are now underway. The police said, "A legal proceeding is currently being conducted, so we are unable to comment at this stage."